It was an ordinary day in the beauty salon, with the quiet pace of customers being served when the door was opening with violence. A furious man invaded space, his voice echoing like thunder between the walls. His message was clear and aggressive. The wife should close that antro and run home to prepare her mother-in-law's lunch. The unemployed husband did not come with a request, but with a humiliating order, completely ignoring the work and dignity of the wife. Dear listeners, here is Andre Branco, and you are on The Secrets of Mother. Today I bring you a real story that will make you rethink the boundaries between love, respect, and survival. Follow carefully. Kenya finished sanitizing her instruments after another satisfied client when the hall door was broken by Dmitri. His face was red with anger, his eyes jumping from side to side, as if they were looking for an excuse to explode. In just 3 months without a job, he had become from a reasonably balanced man to an insecure tyrant who discharged his frustrations in his wife. Listen here, you're useless. Closes this trash and will soon make food for my mother, he shouted, so loud that the wing client, who nails in the next chair, shuddered. The whole hall froze. Lyle lowered his eyes, embarrassed. The client squeezed her lips. The receptionist, Luzia, looked at the intruder with a mixture of astonishment and revulsion. Kenia felt her face burn. A wave of shame and fury invaded her at the same time. Your mother is at home, demanding lunch at the table. Walk away. Get your things, Dmitri continued, as if the people around did not even exist. 6 months ago, Kenya would have been apologized, tried to argue, or even cried. But those months of humiliation, especially after he lost his job and began to live at his expense, had made her rethink everything. To make matters worse, the mother-in-law, Neno Steffens, was her greatest ally, always remembering the daughter-in-law of her duties as a wife. Wait in the car, Kenya murmured, without lifting her eyes. Dmitri was satisfied, knocking on the door so hard that the glasses of the counter closed. Key, are you really going? Of course I will, said Kenia, addressing her post, but instead of gathering his things, he took the cell phone and dialed a number with firm hands. Igor, it's Kenya. Remember when you said that if I needed help, just call it. Igor Maximovich, detective of a private agency, was a frequent client of the place. He took his wife and daughter to Kenia's care. A man of imposing stature, serene eyes, and a hand gripping that transmitted security. A month earlier, he had witnessed one of Dmitri's shameful scenes and offered support if the situation fled the control. Kenia took her bag and left toward the car. Dmitri was nervously on the steering wheel. It took time. My mother has called 3 times, shouting that she is starving. He grunted as he continued his sermon on female obligations and as his wife should be at home, not wasting time with nonsense for some coins. Kenya remained silent, looking out the window, counting the seconds mentally. When they arrived, Neno Steffens was already waiting for them in the kitchen, the ugly face of impatience, beating a spoon on the table. Finally, I spent all morning without eating, waiting for this lazy daughter-in-law, he said, without even greeting them. Mom, I brought her as fast as I could, Dmitri justified, with a submissive tone. Lunch is ready in an hour, Kenia announced, addressing the refrigerator. An hour? In a little while I faint, complained the mother-in-law. What kind of housewife are you? Kenia began to take the ingredients while mentally timed every minute. Neno didn't stop. She listed her daughter-in-law's defects, and Dmitri added her own complaints, a sad choir of failures. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Who will be now? The mother-in-law grumbled, angry. Dmitri went to attend and returned with a confused expression, followed by Igor Maximovich, impeccably dressed in a sober suit. Good afternoon, the detective greeted, with polite firmness. Dmitri Viktorovich Kravchenko? Yes, it's me. And who is the Lord? Asked Dmitri, already suspicious. My name is Igor Maximovich Rybakov. I am from the Finance Garant Collection Department. We need to talk about a pending debt. Dmitri's face paled. What debt? A personal loan worth 80,000 Rs. 4 months late, with interest and fines. The total already exceeds 120,000. Kenia continued to sting the vegetables, but each word was carefully absorbed. She had no idea of the existence of that loan. It must be a mistake, stammered Dmitri. No mistake. The documents are in your name, and we have images of you receiving the money in our office. Neno rose from a jump. Dmitri, what is this? What loan? Mom, I don't know. It must be the mistake. He tried to justify himself, but his voice trembled. Igor displayed in tablet extracts and vouchers. According to our records, the money was spent at Casino Royal and on online bets. Here are the transactions of your account. This is a lie, Dmitri shouted, but the despair in his eyes betrayed him. Son, it tells me it's not true. Neno pleaded. Kenia dropped the knife and turned to her husband. He didn't need more explanations. His face said everything. It was Damie that came the cigarettes, the beer, the ragged excuses of recent months. That's why he lived so angry, so at the flower of his skin. We are willing to negotiate an installment, Igor continued impassive, but we demand an initial payment of 30,000 Ries until Friday. I don't have that money, Dmitri despaired. In this case, we will go to the judicial way, which includes the cost of lawyer and procedural expenses. Neno looked at his son as if he first saw him. Dmitri, did you really borrow money and threw it all away? Mom, it's silly. A small value. I thought I could recover 100,000 as a small value. She cut incredulously. Kenia watched her husband's world collapse. The woman who, minutes earlier, defended him from everything, now stared at him with horror. Where are we going to get this money? My retirement is 20,000, but his daughter-in-law has a business of his own, said Igor, with a significant look at Kenia. Maybe she can help the family. All eyes turned to her. Dmitri stared at her with a mixture of shame and hope. The mother-in-law, with the arrogance of those who always demanded obedience. Key, you understand it's a family issue, he said. We are married. We have to support ourselves. Of course you should help. Reinforce Neno. He's your husband, the father of your future children. Kenia took the apron slowly and hung it on the hook. So, with a calm that surprised everyone, said, do you know something? I won't help. What do you mean? Won't you? Repeated Dmitri, stunned. Even anyway. You got money without consulting me, lost everything, and now you want me to pay the bill? Why, what merit do you have? Neno exploded outrage. How can it be so cruel? He is your husband. My husband has been without working for 3 months, humiliates me in front of customers, requires me to abandon my only source of income to cook for his mother, and on top of it offended without warning me. What kind of partnership is this? Key, please I change, get a job, I return everything to the last penny. Dmitri pleaded. 3 months listening to this promise. You can't even make a decent resume, but you know the casino path very well. Igor watched the scene with professional interest, as who analyzes a case study. So it's combined, Dmitri Viktorovich, 30,000 until Friday. Otherwise, the process goes on. And with that, it made it clear that the account had come not just the financial, but that of a life built on lies and abuse. Wait, maybe we can reach a deal, Dmitri. The desperation stamped on his face as the words came out without conviction. But it was too late for negotiations. 4 months of empty promises, ignored bonds, warnings discarded as garbage. Now there was only one way which Igor had traced with surgical precision. The detective left the documents and a contact card on the table, closing the door behind it with a click that echoed as a sentence. The apartment plunged into a heavy silence, one that chokes more than the thin air. And now, what are we going to do? Neno Stepanovna's voice trembled, loaded with anxiety that even his authoritarian tone could disguise. Nothing, K. Sr. replied, dry as she adjusted the bag on her shoulder. You'll think about how to get this money. I'm going to finish my shift in the salon. Dmitri tried to grab her by the arm, the trembling fingers closing in the void when she dodged with a quick movement. Ksenia, wait, are you going to leave me like this? She turned slowly, the cold eyes like seasoned steel. Didn't you leave me when you screamed like an animal in front of my clients? Didn't you leave me when you demanded that I drop everything for your whims? Is that different? It's another situation. No, it's exactly the same. Family is mutual commitment, not a slavery contract with clauses just to one side. Without another word, she left, leaving behind her mother-in-law's outraged protests and her husband's desperate appeals died in the hall. The eyes of their colleagues found their own in an accomplice silence. How are you? Alla asked softly as she wrapped a cloth over the counter. Excellent. Ksenia allowed a discreet smile. Igor Maximovich did impeccable job. Why the truth? There were no debts. There was never. It was all a meticulous staging, orchestrated by Ksenia and performed by the detective with the accuracy of a chess master. And the effect? He exceeded even the boldest expectations. That night, Ksenia's phone has not stopped vibrating. Dmitri turned on every half hour, the broken voice between supplications and promises of change. She didn't answer any of the calls. He slept at a friend's house for the first time in years, and for the first time in years he woke up without the weight of an uncertain future crushing his chest. The next day he appeared in the hall again. But the man who entered the door was not the same who spit insults and demanded submission. He was unarmed, his shoulders fallen, his eyes lost. Kasusha, for God's sake, we're a family. We need to talk, not run away. Talking, she repeated, without taking her eyes from the client whose eyebrow drew with firm strokes. It talks before creating the problems. Dmitri, not after they explode in our face. He swallowed hard. I'd understood I was wrong. I will never scream with you again, and then I will get a job. I swear. Tomorrow I start looking. Ksenia finally stared at him. There was something new in her gaze, not respect yet, but the late recognition that she was not a toy to be broken and discarded. Good, but with conditions. She lifted her fingers, marking each point in the air as if she faded nails in an agreement. First, no scream, no offense, neither at home nor in public. Second, you are looking for a job for real, not only to shut up. Third, here, she made a deliberate break. Your mother apologizes for the treatment she gave me. Kesusha, she's elderly. It's hard for her to admit mistakes, so keep thinking it's right. Alone, the silence that followed was enough. Dmitri hesitated, but nodded. The conversation with Nino Stepanovna only happened a week later. The woman did not apologize, not explicitly, but the tone had changed radically. The acid comment ceased, as well as the requirements for Ksenia to drop everything to prepare lunch. Dmitri, in turn, started looking for a job, at first, more out of obligation than conviction, until you realized that the wife did not play in service. When the first serious offer appeared, a manager in a construction company with a salary of 40,000 rubles, he took the contract home like a trophy. This is yours, from what you endured, he said, extending the notes in the palm of his hand. Ksenia pushed the money back. Keep, buy a decent outfit for work. The steps were slow but firm. Dmitri stopped treating the hall as a whim. Nino Stepanovna stopped treating her daughter-in-law as a maid. 6 months later, the dynamics of that house was unrecognizable. He had been promoted with an increase that allowed to dream of more. She had opened a second unit of the hall in the neighboring neighborhood. Together they started saving to an apartment, finally, away from the mother-in-law's asphyxiating shadow. Remember when you called my snake's lair hall? Ksenia asked one night as he talked about the possibility of financing. Dmitri blushed, an embarrassed smile bending his lips. I was an idiot. Today I know that without his lair, we would have starved a long time ago. And next time you think of screaming with me in front of others. He held his hand on the table, his fingers squeezing hers like an oath. Never again. Word. And at least in the following 3 years, you fulfilled. Dmitri had become a man who was proud of his wife's achievements and defended them as his own. As for Igor Maximovich, he gained lifetime discounts in the salon, a small price for a performance that had changed the course of a life. Ksenia, of course, never confessed to the bluff. Some victories are sweeter when kept secret.